Okay. I
Yeah.
have, whenever you're ready to get started, I have a counter for the instructional for the teachers.
Okay. Do you want to start with that since that's where we left off?
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to let the attendees in.
Mr. Balmer, your volume is still really soft,
Yeah,
really low.
I don't have any way to control it. I'm on the laptop. It's not a camera or anything like that. So there's nothing I can do to make that any louder that I can tell.
Okay.
All right. I do not see Terry. Wait a minute. Nope, it's not her. Oh, there she is.
I got in.
Okay,
Do it a
great.
different way, but I got in.
Awesome. Okay, all right. So it is October 14th and 5:06 p.m. Why don't we go ahead and pick up where we left off a week ago in our conversations around economics. I believe that we left off asking for the board to take into consideration CCEA's counter proposal on instructional salary improvements. And Mr. Balmer, if you have any sort of anything to share.
Yeah, I just sent it to you, Val.
Okay.
I'll give you a chance to get that.
Okay. All right. There we go.
All right, so we took the proposal to the board. This is the counter, 46,000 be the minimum starting teacher salary. Everyone on the instructional scale would receive at least $1,500 increase, and there'd be a $10 increase to the self-insurance board match for every member for every month that chose to have our health insurance. The salary increases would be retroactive, as you asked last time, to July 1st. The board match would begin on the December 15th paycheck because that is when the insurance increases take effect on that paycheck.
Okay. So I take it that the board did not find our counter of 1,800 minimum to be something that they could stretch to?
Correct.
Okay. So a couple of things that maybe we can talk around a little bit, and this may just be preparatory talk rather than anybody having to come to an agreement on anything right at this exact second. Has there been conversation about what the placement schedule will look like when we've compressed years 0 through 15? What will the placement schedule look like?
Has there been conversation about that? No, because we haven't come to an agreement yet on what this is going to look like. So no, there hasn't been any conversation regarding that, other than the fact that it will be a mess. But that has been that's as far as we've gotten in any conversation.
Got it. So currently the contract limits the number of years of experience that are awarded to incoming teachers, correct? Caps it. the number of years of experience, is it capped?
Yes. Hang on a second. I need to pull that up. I want to say it's 18 years, but please don't hold me to that. Just a second. Yeah, I'll pull paper copy.
Good old paper copies of the
I know.
contract.
Every now and then, 18 years is the top of the scale.
Okay. Okay. So we definitely would need to spend some time thinking through that placement schedule, considering we are compressing. Well, first of all, considering that we've been a few years now on pay for performance increases, which have essentially created a salary schedule with, you know, a unique step for every employee potentially, not tied to years of service. And so an estimation, our estimation is that the $46,000 mark creates compression years 0 through probably right at 14 or 15. And if our current placement schedule allows for individuals to come in and be awarded or granted up to 18 years of experience, presumably anybody who comes in with 15 years, let's say it ends up being 15 years in the final analysis, would start at the 46,000 alongside the teachers that we have who for the most part have been 15 years experience in county. So we may not necessarily see people coming in from outside of the district with out of county years of service outpacing teachers who've been in the district for that many years as well. Do you understand what I'm saying? We're trying to avoid that conflict of having somebody come in and import in 15 years of experience on top of that $46,000 start.
And I think, and Vicky, you'd have to jump in on this. I think when this was created, it was done in a way where people who came in with that many years of experience did not go above what someone who was already here had. I think that was before me, but I believe that was the thought.
Yeah, that's how it used to be, but I don't know how it is now when we got rid of that lane change. It was 2 different lanes, remember?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I mean, whenever we made the placement chart, I think we looked at it and said, okay, 10 years, no one who's worked here 10 years will, you know, they make more than the person who came in on year 10 would make.
Right, exactly. But now, I mean, look, we got new teachers coming in making just as much as a 10-year, so.
I know.
Yeah, so I want to kind of make clear that if we can come to an agreement on the concept of 46,000 as the minimum and a $15,000 guarantee, we still have, I think, some significant work to do that may require us at some point sitting side by side over the payroll roster and you know, line by line sort of analysis to see what do we need to do to, first of all, ensure that everybody is adjusted correctly according to our conceptual agreement, but also to create a fair placement schedule that would help us avoid situations where our experienced teachers are being leapfrogged by those coming from outside with similar years of experience. So,
Yeah, and Val, I think that's what kind of was done a long time ago whenever this was created. I think they found the person back then, as Vicki said, whenever we had steps and everybody was on a step,
right.
it was a little bit easier, I think, to keep track of that. But I think you're right. If that may be what has to happen whenever we do this.
Okay. Okay. So fundamentally, what we're discussing now is trying to come to agreement on this concept that this, the 46,000 and then the 1,500 guarantee. Is that what we can agree to? And then we can work out the details after.
On the placement schedule?
Yes.
Oh yeah, that one, I don't know. I don't think we have any kind of time to get into that right now. That's gonna be a challenge. We know that. That's gonna take some time.
Okay. So I would be remiss if I didn't say that I think that members of our team are somewhat disappointed that a year ago the teachers received $1,650 as an increase, and this year there will be teachers receiving significantly more than that, while others take $1,500. And
Well,
we
now,
were-
to that point, if we look back, remember that the $1,200 of that was negotiated in previous years. We
Right.
added an extra $450 on top of what had been negotiated in the past. So really, when they started July 1st, they got the $1,200. The additional money that they received last year was $450.
Yeah, so their total increase, their total improvement they saw in their paycheck a year ago was the $1,650.
I understand that,
And we're saying now that this year's improvement is going to be $1,500.
But the 1,200 had been negotiated in previous years. It was already there. It wasn't something that was negotiated last year. Last year was the $450 negotiated increase.
So I hear what you're saying. I just don't think that our teachers are going to see that the district agreeing to it 2 years before they actually pay it is different to them than receiving a $1,650 increase last year. So that is the one concern that we will have to, I think, have one last discussion. It sounds to me like we're getting to, whether you want to say it or not, or whether the board wants to declare it or not, that we're approaching what is likely to be a best and final, since the 4615 has come back to the table 3 times now.
Yeah, that's the best you're gonna receive from the board.
Okay. All right. So with that information, let me share with you CCEA's opener for our support. And you can disregard the board insurance proposal, as I believe that what has already been put on the table by the board for insurance match looks to be akin to what we are suggesting. So we may have already reached agreement on the insurance piece. Yay.
Yes, and for the most part, I mean, as it says, for all premium increases, one of them, the $10 would
Offset.
For all but yes, they'd get 6 cents more with the $10 versus the other. So we're talking $10
Right.
there for the board insurance, correct?
Yes.
Okay, that's
Yes.
all right. I just want to make sure.
Okay, so then let's take a look at our opener for support salary improvements. We know that our governor declared it's the year of the teacher, and there has been an awful lot of talk about teacher raises and additional funds being put on the table to do the best we can for our instructional staff. And honestly, we owe it to our support to demonstrate that we are equally concerned about ensuring that we don't let them fall behind, we don't let them slip through the cracks, and that their salary improvements continue to entice staff into Citrus County. So we are seeking, in addition to the step increase, which has already been applied, an additional $1 an hour increase on the regular hourly rate and applied retroactively for both classified support and professional technical. And the reason that we're taking this approach as opposed to a percentage adjustment is honestly because we've done the percentage adjustments in the past, and with the variation in the increases between steps, there's already differentiation among the salary improvements that are being received. Those who, are at just the right place in the schedule may see a, better than 1% for their step, and for those who are at a, different step may only be seeing, 0.8%, less than 1% for the step. And so what we wanted to do was to be able to offer a flat across the board adjustment. We also hope that this will help keep us ahead of the curve with regards to the potential for having to make adjustments in the ESP units, the support units, because of the possible minimum wage increases that will be coming over the next few years. What we don't want to see happen for our support is what we're dealing with right now in instructional, and that's compression in the schedule. So where we can move people further ahead sooner rather than wait until we do it because we have to do it, we feel like we may be able to stay ahead of compression. Now, that's a lot of ifs, because we know that the $15 an hour minimum wage is implemented over time, and only if it passes through this year's election. But we respectfully ask that the board consider making a meaningful investment in our support units this year, just as they have with our instructional unit.
Okay, Val, I have a question. What's the dollar amount that increase would be?
Okay, so
Say right now.
Yeah, so by my calculation, based on the roster you sent a week ago, which I know is the most current roster, the salary roster that we have, we are currently at 11.8 million in salary alone, 14 when you calculate in the 18.5% for fringe, right?
Okay.
So an additional $1 an hour, and I did go ahead and factor out 8 hours times the number of days, so that we're looking at what should be an actual reflection of the true value. 12.6 in actual salary improvement, and then 14.9 with fringe. So with fringe, the total additional to the support salary schedule would be $921,131. And I'm figuring it's about a 6.5% increase.
On top of the 2% step.
Yeah, because the schedule that you gave me already reflected the step, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, because they received that at the beginning of the year, when July 1st.
Right. So we know that what we're putting on the table is a stretch, to say the least. But I think the honest truth is that we're trying to find a way to recognize the fact that our support have been subjected every bit as much as our instructional staff to the challenges that come with the current year, COVID workloads, the same kinds of concerns that our instructional staff have, our support staff have, and we want to make sure that this isn't just the year of the teacher. We want to make sure that this is the year of education employees. If Citrus can make it happen so that all staff are equally uplifted, then we're in a good place.
Okay. All right, before we go any further, I'm gonna have to take a caucus because I gotta make a couple phone calls because this is quite a bit more than, as you know, than we had budgeted, considering especially what we spent on the instructional side. So it's 5:26 right now. You can give me till about 10 till 6,
Okay.
25 minutes. That work?
Yeah, that'll work, and that'll give us a chance to confer over the instructional proposal.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Okie dokie. We are back. All right, so Steve, I think the team was hoping to hear a little bit about where we are with support. I think that we are probably at a place where we can agree to the insurance proposal that the board has presented. And I think once we feel a little bit more oriented to where we are with the support raises, we can revisit our conversation around the TSA.
Well, I'm gonna have to disagree on that. I think that I don't feel comfortable with us revisiting the conversation on support until we get something settled on the teacher side, because you're asking for, $1 million and almost $1 million in support raises. And we haven't agreed on the amount for the instructional side. So I don't feel that we can move forward with support until we get something agreed to on the instructional side.
So understand that the position that that puts us in is to essentially him in where we are on the instructional side without any opportunity to really move forward any kind of conversation for support. I believe that our support staff might feel like they're being given the scraps and the leftovers. That is not what I think we want to present.
Well, I understand what you're saying there, but what you presented was, like I said, 900 some thousand dollars in increased spending for support.
Mm-hmm.
And as you brought up before, we're just talking CCA support. We're not talking about any other units that we still have to talk about. But
right,
there's a pretty wide disparity in what you're asking for with that. I mean, looking at what, like 10% increase at the bottom of the scale and 4% increase at the top of the scale with that support offer. And you're asking for more money on the instructional side, which, as we explained, the money that was added into the TSA took the board to right at the 3.5% fund balance that the policy requires. Now you're asking for another $900,000 on top of that for support, correct? Just want to make sure we're on the same page here.
Yes, and we're asking the board to engage in conversation around the support raises to reassure them that we are not prioritizing instructional dollars ahead of the support unit, that we are fully taking into consideration all employees before we solidify any agreements.
All right, well, with that being said, until we have something agreed upon with the instructional side, I don't have any room to move anywhere on support. I don't even know where to begin to counter on an offer that increases by $1 million after we've just put out $2.5 million on top of the allocation for instructional. So if we're not
Steve,
willing to,
are you saying that raises for the support right now are dependent upon freeing up dollars from the instructional proposal that's on the table right now?
that's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is that your proposal was an additional $1 million for CCA support, not including any other support that we have, be the other bargaining unit or non-union or exempt employees. So I don't feel like until we can settle the teacher issue that we can settle the issue for support, because the money that you're asking in additional to the teacher amount, as we said before, would go beyond what the school board fund balance can be. It would go below that. So I'm not sure exactly where that money would come from that you're asking for instructional, and then you're asking for this for support.
Right.
I'm just trying to figure out where the money is that that's coming from that you think that we can pay for this.
Yeah, so I can tell you the team is not happy to be pitted one bargaining unit against the other. I can also tell you that if you previously stated that what's on the table for the instructional unit is what the board is considering a best and final, that our next move from here for instructional would either be to accept what the board has put on the table or to go to impasse. Either way, the outcome of the decision for instructional is not inherently tied to support. If the board has dollars that have been properly set aside for the purpose of bargaining raises for our support, where we are right now with instructional should actually be pretty irrelevant to continue bargaining forward for support. But if I could tell you how my phone is blowing up right now, people are unhappy to hear that we're being pitted one unit against the other.
I didn't say we're pitting one unit against the other. What I'm saying is that the 46,000 and the 1,500 is what the board can do. You're asking for another 300 on top of that. I'm trying to figure out where that money is going to come from, whenever I've already explained that takes the board to the 3.5% fund balance.
Excuse me, Valerie, I've had my hand up for a while.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
So, Mr. Baumer, first of all, I just need to ask, aren't we supposed to be in IBB process? Because I'm not feeling that we are in IBB process. Second question is, it's not up to us to come up with it. It's up to you to come up with it, where it comes from, not us. It should be where you have to come up with where we get it. But I'm just not feeling like we're doing IBB here, because we came to you with an offer saying that we've got to just wait, that's not IBB. So I'm a little disappointed that you're not even doing the process that we agreed to at bargaining.
Okay, first of all, it's not up to me to try to figure out. I've already explained that we have reached.
It is up to you. It is up to you. It's your money. It's coming from you guys. It's up to you to come up with where the money would come from. If we
Okay.
give you a proposal, then you're supposed to come back with another proposal
I'll
on
be
how that
through-
money would be divided. It's not up
All
to
right.
us.
All right, we're not going to get into a shouting match here. So Val, if you want to schedule another date and time that we can do this, we can schedule another date and time, but we're not going to get into a shouting match here at bargaining over this. So you let me know what date and time you'd like to meet again. I will have a counter perhaps for the support, but we have to come up with something on the teacher side. So
Mr.
Val,
Bummer, the reason why
Val.
I am talking loud is because I'm in a car, and so it's not shouting at you. I'm in a car and you're
Well, but we're
talking
not-
very soft.
but we're not going to be talking over each other. We've talked about this before. So as I've said, if you want to explain to me where that $300 for the employees, the teachers is going to come from, that's going to put the board below what the board policy is, that'd be great. But until we can come to a resolution on that, I don't see us trying to come to a resolution for support whenever you're asking for more money than the board has in the fund balance for teachers.
Let me just make sure that if we do have questions about what's going on here, that they have an opportunity to ask those questions. Amy?
Hi, Mr. Balmer. Unless I heard incorrectly, it sounded like you had a dollar amount set aside for support that is agreeable. So with that in mind, what would that be? What would that break down to? Because at this point, I'm not even sure what's in your mind that's acceptable.
So you'd like to hear the dollar amount for all of the support? Because remember, we have support that are not just CCA support. Because that's where we start to get into the challenge between dividing between one group that we're bargaining with tonight, another group that we haven't even begun bargaining economics with, and then a third group that doesn't have a bargaining group.
So my understanding is that a budget has those things already in mind. And so I know that you have a budget and that you have something in mind. And generally, when we come together, there is an offering back and forth with us, with what we have in mind, and you with what you have in mind. And we have not heard from you, and we are not comfortable settling a portion of our unit when our purpose here is to serve all.
Okay, now, I don't think that I asked you to settle the support part of the unit tonight. I don't believe I asked for that. Okay.
Right, and I think we're saying, or at least this is the way I feel about what we're saying, that we're comfortable with the health piece, the health board match. But as far as agreeing to any other piece without having all the pieces of the puzzle on the table, we're not comfortable.
Okay. And as I said, we're not comfortable with settling, not settling for the teacher amount before we move in to talking about the support. Because the amount that we're talking about for the teachers, there's a difference there between where we are, where we've stated that takes us down to the board policy that we're allowed to take for the fund balance, and where CCA is. And so there's additional dollars there that would have to go into the fund balance to meet your request.
So my understanding is you have shared with us that what was proposed for instructional was the board's best and final. And so with us taking that in mind, we either accept or go to impasse over that. So that leaves no other discussion of money So then that leaves you knowing the pot of money for support. If that's the best and final offer, then instructional is pretty much, decided upon. So then that means we should be able to discuss support.
Okay, and you could, as I said, you put out an offer for support, and you're asking me to put a counter back
Mhm.
that offer. Okay, and I'm asking whenever, because obviously that offer came out, there was a look on your part at the finances, correct? Right, Val?
We've been looking at the finances and the budget reports, yeah.
And so you see that in your eyes that there is room for I want to make sure I have this, $920,000 increase for CCA support in the budget. Is that what you're saying?
We believe that if the board was so inclined, they could stretch. We know that it may make for an uncomfortable stretch, but we have an obligation to seek an appropriate improvement for our support in a year when there are, millions of dollars being invested into the instructional unit. Shame on us if we don't come to the table with a solid proposal that says that the district is also stretching for the other employees. We had to start somewhere. And honestly, I think that the discomfort that the team is feeling right now is it truly does seem that, leveraging one agreement actually hems in the other one. So if we can put all the cards on the table and talk realistically about where the board is in terms of where they see support raises landing, then we've got something to work with and we move a lot faster towards an agreement of some kind. Linda has had her hand up.
Thank you. We had always previously ratified salaries together with support and instructional. That's the way it has always been in the past. So to start ratifying teachers now, when support hasn't even been totally discussed, it's insulting. We always ratified once teacher salary and support salary at the same time. So I don't understand why you're pushing right now just for instructional.
It does make it seem like the district's priority is instructional staff. And I got to say, for the support, it's probably feeling a little bit like they're being set aside. I don't want to believe that that's the intent. We typically talk economics collectively, have all the cards on the table, and then move forward wherever we can. I would think that we'd be putting ourselves in a difficult spot as the bargaining agent for both units if we were to settle on one without even moving proposals forward for the other. Terry?
I know previously, Steve, you had said that the money that the board put on the table did not impact the support raises, and that was above and beyond the step, that you were recognizing that it would not just be the step. I guess perhaps in the spirit of moving forward, if you could share what pot of money, when you said that that teacher, that 2.4 million that the board added to get the beginning teachers to 46, what part was left in the budget for those support raises other than the step? Maybe that would help clarify the situation. I mean, obviously we're probably far apart between that number and our number, but I think that would move us in the right direction towards negotiations.
Okay, and as I stated earlier, Ms. Wilson's not here tonight, so I don't have that total dollar amount with me. She's out for a few days at least, so I do not have that dollar amount. Even if I wanted to share it, I do not have it. Not right now.
So if we were prepared to sign off on instructional, you would have an offer on the table tonight for support.
I should be able to.
Then we do know a dollar number because we know a dollar number that's in that offer if we settled, correct?
That's why I said I should be able to. I don't have it right this second because I don't have that dollar amount. I have to find that out.
So what is the estimate dollar amount?
I'm not gonna, Linda, I'm not gonna start throwing out estimates out there. Nice try, but that's not happening.
All right.
We always ratified at the same time as support and instructional. Always. What?
I think some of the concern is that in our previous conversations, it was made clear that there was a definitive set aside that, and we had been assured, because we asked repeatedly in prior bargaining sessions, that the current proposal that's on the table for instructional did not endanger in some way what is available for bargaining for support. The board is now positioning itself, or the district is positioning itself, that one agreement has to be contingent upon the other. So what is it that is the connection then? I felt confident prior to tonight that there were dollars to be discussed for support.
There are dollars to be discussed for support, but you're asking for what is the total dollar amount whenever we have not agreed upon what the amount is for the instructional, with the understanding that the board is at the limit whenever it comes to the fund balance. That's the piece I think we're tending to leave out a part of the conversation, is that there's more money between us than there is in the fund balance.
Vicky's hand is up.
So I just having a problem with this because I just feel like, again, there's no IBB process going on here. I feel that we're not bargaining, that you are not bargaining in good faith. It's very difficult. It's very emotional, as you always know money is anyway. But again, just like what was always said, I always thought, just like what was said, money was supposed to be set aside. Linda said it correctly. We never bargain separately. We are a whole unit. We are teachers and support, not teachers, one union, and not support another union. We always bargain together. And so I'm very disappointed in how this district is handling this process.
And I may, if I recall, go ahead, Amy, go ahead, Amy.
Oh, no, go ahead. I'll speak after you.
If I recall at one of our discussions, you mentioned that the money was separate from the teachers' allocations and the extra, that there was money put aside for us. So why are we still discussing teachers when the money supposedly is put aside for support?
And Linda,
So, and I think I'm following here. The district's logic, correct me if I'm wrong, the district's logic is that to continue to move towards the $1,800 guarantee in the instructional unit would require pilfering dollars from the money that's been set aside for, budgeted for support raises.
everyone else.
And so from our perspective, by locking in the instructional deal that the board has put on the table, we are essentially saying that at the expense of everybody else, we're making that deal, we're securing that deal. Even if whatever's available, whatever the board wants to do for support is unacceptable.
Well, that would be a matter of opinion, Val.
Val,
Mm-hmm.
I would be most comfortable if we came back to the table and the district had a proposal that included all the components. That's where I would be comfortable with moving forward.
Okay. All right. Well, Steve, I can appreciate that the board has brought forward the contribution for health insurance, the board match. If we can settle that so that plans can be made for open enrollment conversations and for people to have assurance that whatever comes of our continuing economic discussions will be a true raise, money in the pocket that won't be compromised by increases in insurance that they'll have to bear, then it's a starting point. And I understand the position that you're in. I do. Unfortunately, it puts us in a very untenable spot this evening. And I don't know, without the conversation opening up a little more for support raises, I don't know that there's much more that we will be able to accomplish this evening. So
I agree.
why don't we take a look at our calendars and see what we can do about putting something together for us to return to the conversation. I'm not sure how much I'm not sure how much sentiment will change between now and the next time we meet. But it will certainly at least give us an opportunity to hear from the members of our support unit, since we've not yet had an opportunity to converse with them. So I'm available next Thursday evening.
It's 22nd, correct? Yeah, I can do
It
this
is.
Thursday.
Okay. Okay, so we'll look to reconvening same time, 5 o'clock next Thursday evening. Perhaps between now and then, you and I can touch base and see if we can construct some kind of path for this conversation to move forward. In the meantime, if the district is so inclined, I will pull the proposal for the board match on health insurance. Electronic signature will work, I'm guessing. So
Yeah, that's fine.
okay, and get
Yeah,
that
we can- yeah,
TA.
we can set some minds at ease with that, hopefully.
I hope so. I do, and I think it does make a difference. Everybody knows open enrollment's coming, so knowing that.
Oh, no. It is all on right now.
Yeah.
We are in it. We are in it every day. So no, I'm good with that. If you want to send that over, I'll send it right back.
Okay, sounds good. And then we will reconvene next Thursday.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Have a good evening.
Bye.